home of the Internet Court of Truth. We're glad to see you here, and we appreciate you taking the time to pay attention to us here for a while and see what we're up to. If you've been following us all along on these videos, you will know that the Internet Court of Truth is a platform that allows you to find out whether or not claims that you're reading or seeing on the internet or in the media are truth or lies. It's a pretty straightforward process. It's based on a traditional Western style civil court. That means there's a plaintiff, there are jurors. So how it works is very simple. You identify something that you've read on the media or heard on the media or online. Then you go to TruthCourt.net. You sign up if you're not a member. It's easy, it's fast, and it's free. Then you act as a plaintiff and you file a case about the proposition or the statement that you've heard on the media, proposing whether you think it's true or false. When you enter your case, you answer 8 universal verdict questions about that case. And these questions are designed to help you get at the truth or falsity of it. The next thing you do is invite some jurors. You have to have jurors in a case. So you're going to send emails to folks with an invitation that we help you prepare. And if they accept, up to 8 can accept, they will be jurors on your case. And the 8 jurors will answer the same verdict questions that you did. So everybody is on the same page. When it's all done, you're going to find out what the jurors think about your claim. You're going to learn not only what they think, but you're going to have some insight as to why they think that way. And I can tell you, you should be prepared to be surprised. If you wish, you can make that trial public on social media. Only you have the ability to share it. What's more, any case can be retried. By clicking a button, the system sets up a new case based on the prior one, and it uses it as a template. You'll be able to edit that case if you wish, or if you want, you can retry the same case with a different set of participants. So that lets you get opinions from a range of people, not just the same 8 that you used initially. Now, to make it clear what we do, TruthCourt is a platform for conducting cases. The platform's role is solely to facilitate the process. It doesn't influence the content of the cases or the answers to the questions. The content, the consequent verdicts, all of that come from the participants involved in the case. For more comprehensive details, please go to truthcourt.net. You'll find some links there to previous trials and some other information that will help you understand what we're doing. Now, if you've been following us, you know that TruthCourt is very good for determining the truth or falsity of things you hear on the internet. It's also good for other things, though. It lets you have a way to explore other issues that are more with more educational value, shall we say. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to run a case for you that I came across. And this is a case, it's about a study that I came across, and it raises some issues that are quite interesting. I hope you'll enjoy them as well. Let me share my screen. And I'm going to talk to you today about a study that I came across. And the study deals with music, something that everyone has some experience with. And the title of my case today is Music a Language? All right, first I'm going to show you, you're looking right now at the Internet Court of Truth case page. And if you look on the left-hand column, you see the status column that tells you what's going on, where we are. The trial is in progress. Here's a conference link because the folks that are on here with me today are on Zoom. So this is the link for them to join when the trial ends. How many jurors I have? I have 3 jurors who have accepted, 1 finalized. And over here on the far right-hand side, I have the 8 verdict questions that I discussed with you a few minutes ago that we're going to answer. And in the middle is the case details. And this is the part of the case where you enter information so that the jurors have something to go on. So here's my case. Is music a language? That's the name that I've given it. The category is a misunderstood metaphor. Now, here's my case. I was reading in the Harvard Gazette the other day, and it talked about a recent study by a group of researchers that they did some work as to music. And they said that everyone thinks music is a universal cultural phenomenon, but there's no real data that shows that. So this bunch of researchers did a lot of work to show that, in fact, it is a universal cultural phenomenon. In the course of reading the article, however, it opened with this quote here by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. It said, "Music is the universal language of mankind." That's the quote that the Harvard researchers opened, or that the Harvard Gazette opened its article with. My question was, however, is music a language? Is it really a language? We say that frequently, but is it really a language? So I did a little exploring, and I came up with the following. Music seems to have a lot of linguistic properties. But in the final analysis, I say it's not really a language, although it's definitely a phenomenon that's akin to language. I looked around for standard definitions of language, looked back through my own notes from when I had taken linguistics courses in college, and I came across this definition of language. Language is a system of communication consisting of a set of sounds, symbols, and rules for combining them, used by humans for expressing thoughts, ideas, emotions, conveying information, can be spoken, written, or signed. It enables individuals to interact, share knowledge, and understand one another. So that's basically a definition of language. And there are many definitions of language, but they all sort of are around that same type of thing. So we metaphorically speak of music as a language because it shares characteristics with linguistic communication. They both involve the organization of elements. In the case of music, it's notes. In the case of language, it's words into meaningful sequences that convey emotion, meaning, or information. They have their own set of rules and syntax that govern how the elements can be combined. So there's some similarity there. However, there are also a bunch of differences between music and language. For instance, spoken language is a tool for conveying specific meanings through words and grammar. Music often communicates emotions, moods, and abstract concepts that you can't really put into words very easily. So it might be more accurate to say that music is a form of nonverbal communication that, like language, allows us to convey and experience complex emotions and ideas. So what is the case for saying that music might be called a language? Well, I came up with a few points. It has grammar and syntax, its own set of rules and structures governing how musical elements such as notes, chords, rhythms, pitch, all that kind of thing are combined, which can be compared to the grammar and syntax of a language. It's expressive like a language. Music conveys a wide range of emotions, moods, abstract concepts, allowing for a nuanced form of communication. So music and language both share that. Music and language both make use of signs and signifiers. Symbolism. Music notation serves as symbols representing specific pitches, rhythms, dynamics, other musical elements. These symbols are interpreted by musicians to produce a desired musical outcome. Music has cultural variability, just like different languages have unique features and variations across cultures. Various musical traditions and styles exist worldwide, each with its own set of conventions and expressions. Baroque music, for instance, has a set of expressions that's very different from hip hop. So there is cultural variability, and language and music both share that. Like language, music has universal elements. Specific musical styles and traditions vary. There are universal elements of music: pitch, rhythm, harmony. They're present in all forms of music, no matter what the culture. So there are a number of similarities. But despite all those similarities, there are more convincing reasons in my mind why it is not a language. And here are the reasons I came up with to make my case that music is not a language. Music lacks semantic content. Unlike linguistic communication, music does not convey explicit meanings or propositions. It can evoke emotions and moods, but it doesn't communicate specific information or ideas the same way as language. You can't use music to say, "Pass me the salt, please," uh, like you can with language. To a large degree, music is ambiguous. It leaves room for interpretation. Same piece of music can evoke very different emotions or reactions in different individuals. This degree of ambiguity is not present in language, where words generally have a more fixed meaning. Now, that's not to say that words can't be ambiguous as well, but not as much as music. Functional communication using music is limited. While music can convey emotions and moods, it's not typically used for practical everyday communication. Language is essential to tasks for giving instructions, asking questions, sharing factual information. Music has a high degree of cultural and historical specificity. Its conventions and styles can be highly specific to particular cultures and time periods, which can limit its universality compared to language. For folks who have listened to music from Asia versus music from Europe, you will note that sometimes if you're a European, the Asian music may sound discordant, or if you're an Asian, the European music may sound strange. So it's not as its conventions are different, culturally designated. And finally, music syntax is very different from linguistic syntax. While music has its own form of syntax in terms of musical structure, composition, the rules of music, it lacks the semantic depth and grammatical complexity of a spoken or written language. Now, Noam Chomsky has said that that there's such a thing as a universal grammar that suggests that humans have an innate biological capacity for acquiring language. He believes this is a key component of our cognitive architecture. It's essential to our capacity for rational thought. Given the research of the findings referenced in the Harvard Gazette article, there may be something similar at work with music. There may be some universal innate human capacity that is vital to emotional communication rather than reasoning communication. So there may be something similar going on with music, but that doesn't mean it's a language. But even given the universality, I have to conclude that despite Longfellow's claim that music is a universal language, it's not a language. It's something else. It's music. All right. If you go down here, I'm going to show you the markup. This is the actual statement that I'm trying. And it's the quote by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow: "Music is the universal language of mankind." I'm saying that's not true because I don't think it's a language. Here's the link to the Harvard Gazette article. And there are some links up here in my accusation for the actual study that that scientists worked on, or one of the studies. And here's a Reuters article also on the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the verdicts, and I'm going to quickly run through my verdicts. All right, is it the truth? Well, my answer to that is no, it's not the truth. While in many ways music functions in ways similar to language, it's substantially different. Is it the whole truth? And again, I'm going to show you I'm about 50% confident of that. There's a lot of room here for discussion. This is not a hard and fast fact or something, but this is something that I feel about 50% sure of. Is it the whole truth? I say no, it's not the whole truth. Again, I'm about 50% confident. Longfellow was speaking metaphorically. He probably never considered the difference between music and language. Is it nothing but the truth? Again, I say no to about 50% confidence. Language deals with reason and specificity, while music concerns itself with emotions and ambiguity. So there's a very different thing going on there. What is the deceit? I say the deceit is that music and spoken and written communication are both languages. I'm pretty sure that that's the deceit. While there are some striking similarities between music and language, there's a great gulf between the two. Is the deceit or truth intended? Again, I'm saying no, 65% confident. Most of the time when music is referred to as a language, it's meant metaphorically, not literally. What's the motivation behind the statement? Well, I think the claim comes from the fact that music has an astonishing power to evoke emotions, and it is communicative in ways similar to language, but it's not really a language. Language also has the power to express and evoke emotions, but music's universal emotive capacity goes way beyond words, touching nearly everyone. Hence the claim that it's a universal language. What's the social acceptability of the truth or lie? I say it's acceptable. The Wadsworth Longfellow's claim is it's a beautiful metaphor, and it attempts to get at music's universal reach. So I think it's an acceptable statement. What label would improve the social acceptability of it? Well, I think if you saw what this means is if I were to put a label beside this statement right down here, music is the universal language. What label would that be? I would say the label should say something like Longfellow was speaking about music metaphorically. It's not really a language. Strictly speaking, music is most probably not a true language, but it's quite certainly something very unique all to itself. But I don't think it should be spoken of as a language. Okay, that is my case. So I'm going to invite now the jurors who have worked on the case. I'm looking over here in the left-hand column. I see 3 jurors have accepted. 2 jurors are finalized. So 1 juror is still working on answering the 8 verdict questions. So in the meantime, if there are any jurors who want to discuss anything or say anything while we're waiting for that juror to finalize their verdicts, now would be a good time for that. Anybody?
So I'm going to play the what amounts to Chomsky's position, which is that uh, that and the cognitive science position, which is the computational mechanisms for music and language. Language is natural human language, which is absolutely unique to humans, is and has its own organ um, in the brain. Um, uh, has parts of that organ are the where music comes from, music appreciation, and so forth and so on. And so it's in Chomsky's sense, it was prosody. Uh, and so one of the big arguments you make from it, just from a computational point of view, is that if music and language were completely different, unique things, how can you sing? How does that happen? How do you sing a song with language? And the answer is there'd be no way.
Well, that's an interesting point that you make, Bob. And one of the jurors also brought that up. Song does include words and language, so that's a very good.
You couldn't keep up.
You can have music without words.
That's fine. That's not a problem. But you can't. The, from a computational point of view, I don't know how you do that. Whereas if all language, all spoken language is uh, has prosody, which is music, okay, then the answer is that
Prosody you're saying prosody is music?
yeah, of course it is. That's Chomsky's argument. He wrote a whole book on it, and that's generally recognized. I mean, the sentences, the correspondences in music. Now, there are modern forms of music that you can't sing, but those aren't particularly musical. And so you can make people can make sounds, hit walls and scream and jump up and down on a kettle, but that's 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 a question as to whether you call it music. Now, I think that the biggest problem is that we s- we are s- we our language is such that things that we will call music will be different from things that we will call natural language. And so naturally, we think the two things are completely different, when in fact, they're not at all different.
Okay, very good. We're still waiting for juror number 3 here to finalize the verdict. Has somebody not hit the button at the bottom of the column to finalize the verdict? All right, there we go. All right, all the verdicts are in, and we can tell that that has happened by looking over here in the status column at the bottom. 3 jurors accepted, 3 verdicts finalized, and if you notice, there was a little pop-up window over here in the right-hand corner that said the case has been settled. All right, let me very quickly run through the verdicts of the other jurors. You know what mine are. All right, so we take a look at my verdict up here. As the plaintiff, is it the truth? I see juror number 1, 2, and 3 also are saying no because they're the same red icon, but it's not the identical icon as mine. Mine has that little copy symbol. These don't, so that means they're slightly different. So let's see how they're different. Juror number 1 says it is not the universal of mankind, but it is a computational subset of human natural language, which is a la Chomsky, we're saying here. Okay. Juror number 2 says the study examines songs, which are typically sounds made by human voices and instruments, but voices mostly expressing words, language with various tones and rhythms. That is true. This muddies the claim, and that is a very good point. It does muddy the claim. It would have been stronger if they had examined music alone, devoid of sung language, but allowing screams, grunts, yells, etc. That is true. But I will remind everyone that I was not really commenting so much on the study as the quote that was contained in the article by Longfellow that music is a universal language. But it was a
Did
very
he say the universal language or a? Because
says it's well, you see there it says music is the universal language.
the one universal language.
That's that's what Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said. Yeah.
He said the universal language.
Yes.
Amazing. He's wrong.
Well, he was a poet.
Even
And,
so, he's
and
wrong.
again, I made the case that he was speaking metaphorically.
Yeah, I think.
All right. And juror number 3 says confidence 75, music is the universal language of mankind, is a metaphorical expression rather than literal truth. Music has power to evoke emotions and create shared experiences across cultures, but is not a language in the linguistic sense. Okay, very good answer also. All good answers. Is it the whole truth? Juror number 1, again, nobody agreed 100% with me because the icons are not the same as the icon by my case or my claim. Juror number 1 says there is a computational understanding of how human brains compute, which clearly lays out the uniquely human computation as part of natural language computation. Okay. Juror number 2 says maybe a study of similarities in songs in different contexts and different cultures may lead to a discovery of commonalities in the language-free music, but that remains to be seen. Yes, the study that I gave you the link to did study songs, not specifically just pure music. Okay. But I would say, again, there is a certain amount of ambiguity in the term songs because you can have a song without words. Greensleeves is one example. There are many such songs. Okay, juror number 3, the statement simplifies a complex idea. While music has universal appeal and can transcend cultural boundaries, it does not encompass all the functions and structures of language. Okay, very good. Good one. Is it nothing but the truth? Juror number 2 agreed with me and copied my answer. Juror number 1 says no. Same as whole truth answer. Okay, that's a copy of his answer above. Juror number 3 says, again, it is a metaphor to emphasize the universality and emotional power of music. Yes, I agree. What is the deceit? Let's see. The deceit, juror number 2 copied my answer. Juror number 1 says the deceit is that the lie is misleading. In cognitive science, music is anything anybody calls music. That is different from human language, which is anything anybody calls that. However, the underlying computation is that music is computationally the same as a subset of what we do with natural language. Okay. And juror number 2 copied my answer. Let's see what juror number 3 says. While it is a powerful metaphor, it can be misleading if taken literally. Yes. Okay. Is the deceit or truth intended? Juror number 1 and 2 agreed with me. Juror number 3 did not. Let's see what juror number 3 said. It's not necessarily intended to deceive in a negative way. It is a common metaphor that people use to highlight the universal appeal of music. Yes. What is the motivation behind the truth or lie? I see juror number 2 has copied my answer. Juror number 1 says the motivation is to be informative. I think there was a shallow analysis of Chomsky, which is well motivated. Okay, and juror number 3, to highlight the profound and universal nature of music and human culture is the motivation. I think that's okay too. I like that. All right, what is the social acceptability of the truth or lie? Juror number 2 copied my answer. Juror number 1 says acceptable, only 15% confident though. It's acceptable, except that it does not give a clear statement about the relationship between music and natural language in terms of computation. Well, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow would not have had any idea about what you're talking about in computation when he made that statement. So I can understand why you could say that. Juror number 3 says, it is acceptable. It's a common way to express the idea that music has a universal appeal and the capacity to connect people. Yes. What label would improve the social acceptability of the truth or lie? Juror number 2 copied my answer. Juror number 1 says, one bit of evidence that music and natural language are tied together is that people also make up songs for music using their natural language. This would be computationally very different if they were not tied together closely and using common brain mechanisms, which are uniquely human. And juror number 3 says, it's not meant to be taken literally, but rather as a symbolic expression that music has a universal and emotionally evocative quality. All right, folks, there's the case. So you see that bringing up this topic engendered a wide range of responses from the 3 jurors who have participated in the case. And it's an interesting topic and had some very interesting answers from very different perspectives that discuss this issue. So you can see how TruthCourt can be used to talk about things that are not necessarily statements or comments that you've heard on the media or on the internet, but that are big issues that a lot of people have been talking about for a long time. It's a good way to get at some of those things too. And you can see how this would have an educative value for a teacher using it. It would be a way to discuss philosophically, maybe, or linguistically, or grammatically, or any number of ways discuss this topic. So I'm happy to show you how we can use TruthCourt in ways that are a little bit different than you might expect from looking at some of the past videos. All right, folks, I'm asking if you would go to truthcourt.net. If you're not a member, please sign up. It's easy, it's free, and run your own case. You can bring up issues like this one. You can bring up more specific things that you found on the internet, invite some folks to be jurors, and set up a trial, and find out what other people think about that particular topic. So once again, thank you so much for your time and for the thought that you put into this. And we hope to see you again next week when we do another one. Take care.